I'd like to suggest that this radical rereading is not so peculiar in the history of socialist thought, particularly when examined from a transnational perspective. I would point our attention to the way Marxism has traveled from its birthplace in Germany to Eastern Europe and Asia, to transition from Marx to Lenin and Mao. With each transition has come a reinterpretation and reformulation of the creed. From Lenin's promotion of the vanguard party to Mao's recognition of the peasantry as the revolutionary class in the global colonial system, Marxists have long tinkered with their thinking in relation to the concrete conditions in which they have found themselves. This adaptation of theory to local condition is part of the unity of theory and practice that Marxists like to talk about all the time. As Mao reminds us, it is in the particularity of local struggle, or in his parlance, contradiction, that the universality of all such contradictions is expressed. I like to suggest socialism's geopolitical traipsing, of which this Bay Area production is also a part, as a kind of transnational desire, but an inherently transgressive desire that substantially changes the content of socialism itself, wherever it goes, for both the better, and as history tells us, the worse as well. I want to pursue whether we configure the oblique yet necessary relationship between theory and practice, each amending and transforming the other across geopolitical borders, as a form of theoretical queerness, and if so, then perhaps we can see how these manifestly queer embodiments of revolution, such as this film, are figurations of what should already lie in the heart of the socialist impulse itself. This film invites us to think of the transnational journey of socialism across continents and the transgender journey of revolution across sexes as being homologous. In the spirit of Lenin and Mao, the filmmakers have adapted the rhetoric of the socialist movement to the terrain of gender. What they have produced is a socially necessary expression of such utopian desire for our age. The filmmakers have elegantly made a strong case for queer peoples as being on the vanguard of both gender and politics, a unique revolutionary subject that can address oppression in both public and domestic spaces. They remind us that linking struggles both personal and public need not be such a vexed proposition. This queer engagement with socialism reminds us of the importance of historical materialist critique to our analysis of contemporary gay politics. That the gay movement has in recent years seemed to become preoccupied with a push for inclusion into a bourgeois state institution tells us much about how the movement has changed and perhaps not all for the better. Notwithstanding the importance of equality, it seems the need for liberation on a broader front, in particular, the dismantling of a coercive gender system, has been elided. What was exposed was an indifference within the present mainstream movement to the particularities of class, race, and non-normative gender identity. In an age when transnational capitalism risks commodifying one's progressive social movements and rendering them alternative lifestyle accessories, perhaps the specter of communism, in its critical universality, can serve to help the present gay movement critically re-examine itself and reach out to its own forgotten others. On the other hand, the particularity of queerness itself has something to offer socialist movements too. Gender division, as Friedrich Engels pointed out, is in itself a primal division of labor, and all socialist movements have had to address the problem of gender inequality. Unfortunately, they have also tended to reproduce the problem of gender oppression, being as much breeding grounds for revolutionary machismo and chauvinism as they are for revolt. While this film does celebrate a revolutionary masculine ideal, I think what is different here is the fact that such masculinity is not one of coercion or anxiety, but a masculinity predicated on the notion of play, one that can coexist productively with other forms of gender expression. Being vigilant about and critical of gender inequality is vital not only in addressing the needs of those who suffer such oppression, but also in helping identify strains of authoritarianism and liberation movements that so often have a gender manifestation. In the end, I want to reiterate the importance of thinking of the two trans at work in this film, the transnational and the transgender. I invite the audience to think about how we can make better linkages between these two modes of alterity and how the struggles for queer liberation and for international social justice may join hands in the fight against globalized capitalism.